Have a good meeting.
Thank you. All right. Have we let everybody in?
Yes.
Great. Welcome to the November 3rd, 4th meeting in Scituate Conservation Commission. Couple of quick things to read here. This meeting is being held virtually. It's an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. And the Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during our meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there's disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcome and respected. And we ask our committee members and all that participate to commit to these standards and to support and respect our community. Great. So with that said, we have an agenda. Are there any omissions or additions to the agenda? I can tell you that a couple of these hearings that are coming up, we just received information at the last minute, so we probably will keep those on the short side until we have a chance to review them, but I'll let you know that when we get to it.
I have a open space update and a, I guess a emergency declaration update that we can discuss at the end.
Okay. Add those to the agenda. I don't have anything to add. Anybody else?
No.
Can I get a motion to accept that agenda?
I make a motion, we accept the agenda with the additions as discussed.
Okay, thank you, Jen. That's from Jen. We have a second from.
I'll second that.
From Brendan, all in favor. Eric?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. This is what we have for members right now, right? Till Penny.
I see Richard is in here if we want to give him co-host.
I am here.
You are.
I am.
Good evening. Good
Hi.
evening.
Sorry, I'm late.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're already opened and we've accepted the agenda unless you have anything you want to add, Richard.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 210, 218 First Parish Road. This has been continued. Do we have anybody on for that this evening?
Nope, they have asked to continue. They are going to have another site visit with our peer reviewer. So we'll discuss it once that we get through that. So if you want to continue it to December 16th, so that gives enough time to schedule another visit and receive reports back.
Okay. How many continuances has this had so far, Jen?
This would be its second one. We opened it on October 7th.
Okay. All right, so we need a motion to continue to December 16th.
I make a motion, we continue 210 to 218 First Parish Road to, what was the date?
December
December
16th.
December 16th.
It's a motion from Jen. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Brendan. All in favor, Richard?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Great. I see we have a couple of hands up, but we don't have anything yet to.
Yes, there's no discussion on this one tonight.
Okay. Number 9, Collier. Um,
They also requested to continue. I think they're making additional changes to their plans and they just haven't gotten those changes in yet.
and how many times has this one been
Mm.
continued?
I would say this will be their at least their third one.
At some point, we're gonna have ask people to
Apply.
reapply, or at least to
Re-advertise.
re-advertise.
Hmm.
Because people lose sight of where they are with this thing. Um,
I'll let them
Okay.
know their next one they need to
Okay.
re-advertise.
okay. So, can I get a motion to continue this number 9 Collier Road to November 25th?
I make a motion, we continue 9 Collier Road to November 25th.
It's Jen.
And I'll second that.
Second from Brendan, thank you. All in favor, Richard
Yes.
and Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay. 85 Surfside,
Yes, we've already opened this one and we continued it because we had some concerns about the footings that were originally being proposed for the deck on the ocean side of the house. They submitted revised plans for this, and then they actually submitted another set of revised plans today. So the deck and the addition, they have changed to helical piles. They have the proposed pervious paver driveway addition, and then today the addition to the plan was extending the patio on the side of the house. But I do think we have Paul Marabito on here to present this. While I look for him, I don't know if he wants to raise his hand. I'm thinking he might be iPad. We did receive comments today from the town engineer about the deck and its piles near the seawall. And the applicant's engineer sent some information as well. So I haven't really had a chance to review all that. All right. I'm not, did I
Yeah,
just
do you want to
unmute?
raise your hand?
I think you did. Can you hear me, Jen?
Yes, there you are. Thank you.
Okay,
so Paul, why don't you give us something?
Okay.
Again, seeing that we just got this information, it's unlikely we're gonna close this, but go ahead and
all right, Frank. As Jen mentioned, I sent in, last week I sent in a revised plan along with a cover letter to you, Frank. There are there's some questions the members had at the previous meeting, and I addressed them in the cover letter. I'll go through those quickly. The sonotubes are gonna be replaced with the helical piles to a depth of 5 to 8 feet. The back of that seawall is down approximately 15.5 feet. The sonotubes would go about half that distance down at the most, so. And we also pulled the deck back 3 feet from the back of the seawall. So the helical piles will not have any impact on the existing seawall. There's a detail for the helical piles on the plan that I got from Rivermore Engineering as well. The other issue was the pervious paver driveway in the left front corner of the property. It was suggested that we not use the pervious pavers. I kept those because the existing driveways on the street are pervious pavers. The other reason is, in speaking to the owner of the property, he had crushed stone and clamshells out there, and they washed into the street and they clogged the catch basin to the point where the town had to come out and clean the catch basins out. The pervious pavers are set in a crushed stone and soil base. There's a detail for that on the plan. They're fairly solid and they wouldn't wash away like the stone and the clamshells would to get into the storm drain line of the street. The other thing was that the proposed deck was moved 3 feet back from the street side of the seawall to allow for scouring. And the whole locus is on a Barrier Beach resource area, as well as all the existing houses and open decks on Surfside Road. The proposed deck is going to match the elevation of the existing deck of elevation 12.7. The surface below the deck surface will be sand with some crushed stone. Also, just a comment, that given that the entire locus is a Barrier Beach, the storm sediment overwash will flow over the existing ground surface and out on the Surfside Road where it typically is removed by the Scituate DPW. None of the proposed work will impede the transfer of sediment over the Barrier Beach. It's also important to note that the man-made seawall does prevent the locust to perform as a true Barrier Beach, as the seawall acts as a barrier to wave action, which normally moves sediment landward of the ocean in a building up and extension of the Barrier Beach. Additionally, the Barrier Beach does not protect any wildlife habitat or rare vertebrae or invertebrate species. As such, there cannot and there will be no adverse impacts to these non-existent entities. Lastly, the revised site plan notes that the type of the existing deck footings as well as the elevation of the deck surface. The existing footings are on concrete piers, and the proposed piers will be helical piles. The other thing we added to the plan was the plan was submitted last Monday, and today I realized that I had omitted the pervious bluestone patio on the right side of the lot, adjacent to the house. So I added that and sent that in. Other than that, there's been no other changes in the plan.
Okay.
So with that, I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Paul. Jen, do you want to?
My comments are there's a few things to review regarding the seawall as far as comments from DPW and actually Paul Marabuto sent some information about the construction of the wall. And then I would say beyond that, though, assuming if we get to the point of conditions that we wouldn't want any enclosure under the deck. And I would say it might be worth it to be concerned about any additional hard surfaces on the site when ocean water comes over the wall and washes across the site. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Frank, if I just add quickly, I do have the as-built seawall plans from the DPW. They were done by Nushi Vine when they did some repairs out there. And the memo you got from Sean McCarthy pretty much copies what's on those plans.
Got it. Okay. Well, let's work through the commission members, Paul, and then we'll circle back. So Richard?
I guess I understand why the pervious pavers would replace the crushed stone in that particular location. So I'm okay with that. I'm glad they pulled the stuff back by 3 feet. I think the helical is appropriate and would like to see the rest of the drawing in our hands before we ever close this or condition it. That's it for the moment.
Okay. Did Penny get access or not?
She's in.
Now I am.
Oh, good. Good evening.
Hi, Pam.
Penny, were you able to hear any of that for 85? Or do you have any-
Not much. I had a hard time following it. So why don't you just skip me, Frank?
Okay, we'll circle back if you can let us
Yeah.
know if you want to jump in. Jen?
Nothing new.
Don't.
Brendan,
Yeah, I have nothing new to add.
Eric,
I think I'm gonna push back against the pervious driveway. I don't see how introducing something that could potentially accelerate the flow of sediment coming from washover during storm events into the road or catch basin is any different from another material being used there for parking purposes. It just seems sort of counterintuitive to me to say on one hand that the storm drains are being filled with things from a prior material that was there due to storm flowage, and then introduce something that's going to potentially increase flowage of sediment across that pervious paver into the road and into a catch basin. It sounds like a question of maintenance. And it seems like that it's just more maintenance for the homeowner to put something that's maybe more site appropriate than adding more surfaces that could increase the flow rate of water and sediment into Surfside Road. And I also think that could even maybe be applied to the increase of the patio that's being removed with the bluestone. But I don't really know what the spec is on that either. So that's my thought on the driveway. I still think that adding more pavers is not really the way to go here. And then I did just happen to see the engineers, comments on the piles in back, and seems like that depth that's being proposed at 8 feet is going to be too shallow, according to what the town engineer had supplied in his comment. But that's all I have for right now.
okay, thank you. Do we have anybody in the audience for this one?
I don't see any hands up at the moment.
Okay. Paul, I'm just looking at the notes from Sean McCarthy, kind of going backwards on his notes, but the design is showing that those helical piles are still pretty close to the location of the footing, the bottom of that seawall, and he's recommending that those not be that close. And then there's a minimum depth, and he's saying that which makes sense that they go below that. I think we've had a couple situations where the seawall's starting to get undermined a little bit, and when that happens, it pulls the sediment from the backside of the seawall towards the ocean, and they've actually had those things start to collapse in another location. So it seems like this question whether that depth is adequate. A couple of the pieces that he has here. So I don't know if there's a way to get those piles back further. Maybe they could support a beam.
Frank, I saw the comments from Sean,
Yeah.
and it's 15 foot 6 inches from the top of the seawall down to the to the bottom of the wall. The helical piles are going down half that distance to 8 feet, so they wouldn't have any impact on the wall itself. The as-built plan doesn't show the wall as having a footing. It's basically a large gravity wall. It's about that wall is about 18 feet high, according to some plans that we got from the town.
The letter that he has, I'm looking at a cross section, and it shows a base. Paul, I don't know.
It
Maybe
does have a base, but typically the footing would come out 2 or 3 feet behind it. And that drawing doesn't show that.
All right.
And the as-built plans that I got from the town also show the same thing. I think there's a 6-inch slip as opposed to 2 feet. So by putting the helical piles back 3 feet and only 8 feet down, there's no impact to the seawall, the back of it.
We hope.
Did you say that one of his notes was recommending that the helical piles be deeper than the seawall? So that if the seawall failed, that wouldn't,
Well, if that
Um,
seawall fails, there's gonna be a lot of other things failing in the backyards of these houses. It just won't be decks.
right.
But the as-built plan was based upon the repairs that were done for the town back in, I got the plan here, I think it was the early 2000s.
Um, what is the bluestone patio that's being removed? Paul, is that like bluestone putting concrete?
The bluestone is gonna have, there's a detail on the plan that shows the sub base for pavers, and it'd be the same for the bluestone. It's got, there's a 1-inch layer of chip stone, below the bluestone. Then there's 8 inches of a clear, open graded stone. That's 3/4 inch wash stone. And then there's some, bony gravel below that. What that does is the pavers will have joints between them. It'll be pervious and the water would go into the joints and down into the sub base below and drain into the sandy soil below the ground. I mean,
What is there now, Paul? What are they removing?
there's a small patio. We show the outline of it there. There's a
Yep.
small
What-
patio. that
What
he
does
has
it consist of? Is it
I'm-
concrete or is it?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, Frank. My guess is that it's some kind of a solid surface or impervious surface.
Right. Jen, do you want to add anything else to this? Do we want to? You want to take the time to review some of this? What's your?
Yes, I think we want to make sure we're good with the depth of the piles for the deck and that it's far enough away from the seawall. I'm not totally sure I and am understanding these comments as saying that it is far enough away. As far as the patio is concerned, I want to say I maybe had a picture, but the pictures just show the surface. It doesn't show how it's in.
Right.
But I mean, we don't have orders ready for this because we haven't fully reviewed this. So I just would like to make sure we have everything we need. So I do think we need to continue if that's what you're asking.
But what else, is there anything else, additional information we want from the applicant, their engineer?
I think for the piles, we need to make sure that it is far enough away from the wall and that they are deep enough and that we're just sure about that. And then if any of the square footage information needs to change, I think on the one plan we had, there's an impervious area calculation with
There is.
proposed walkways, patios, driveways. Just make sure all of that is up to date so we can put all of that in our orders. And those are, I mean, the questions would be, are we, good with the driveway and with the patio and with the patio expanding? Is there any additional information we would want with that extra surfaces being added to the site?
There are adding some
Yeah.
pieces here. And is there any mitigation offered for that, Paul?
No,
Paul, one other quick one, I noticed that there's a detail in the plan, this helical pier with concrete cap. And the note that I'm seeing there is that the helical 10K, so 10,000 capacity, minimum depth of 15 feet. So the plan is calling out that that helical pier is
15. Not
going to a
8.
minimum of 15.
where do you see 15 feet?
Is a here
You looking
on
on
the,
the, you looking on the detail?
yes,
Yeah, if you can scroll over to the right, to the right of the site plan, there's the detail. I
yeah,
think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, the 15 feet's on the bottom. Okay, that's for the total pile. The,
Right.
the concrete encasement would be 5 feet below the existing surface.
but the helical pile itself is to a depth of 15. Am I, if I'm reading that?
Right,
That's good.
yeah, that's for a 10,000 pound capacity, which is probably too much. I can check with a structural engineer, see if that needs to be that deep. Cause it's only supporting the deck, and I'll see what it should be under the addition.
But I think we're saying that we want it to be that depth.
Okay,
That's this.
Because it's gonna get down to the depth of the footing of the seawall.
all right, we can leave it the way it is then.
I think that on that point though, Frank, on the other side on the notes, it says helical piles minimum 8-foot depth. So there is a conflict on the sheet itself.
Yeah, there
I-
is.
I can revise that. That was known. Yes,
We like the deeper. Paul, I
Well-
guess I would be talking to your client about, I'm not quite sure what could be offered for mitigation here, but I mean, there's an awful lot being added, and I don't see that much is being offered. You just keep covering more of the surface. Like, granted, they're pervious, but the surface of this area just keeps getting more and more covered. And I know that that takes place on several sites. We're looking at the aerial photo of
Yeah.
this one, and we're looking at the neighbor next door, and there's this like totally covered.
Like we haven't offered any, but what I would add is that when you're on a Berry Beach, the performance standard is that you do that you still allow the transfer of sediment from the ocean to the landward side, which this project would allow as well as the other lots on the street. That's the only performance standard that I'm aware of, and we do meet it, even though some of the surfaces are being covered with with the hardscape. And the hardscape we're proposing is all pervious as opposed to impervious, which I think is important, especially in rainstorms. But when the ocean comes over, the water's gonna flow right over these lots like it usually does. And the sediment always ends up in the street. Again, the reason we wanted the pavers was to try to reduce the amount of erosion from the site. You'll probably get some sediment from the ocean in the very large storms, but having shells or crushed stone in the driveway, even in the smaller storms, adds to erosion out in the street, which I know is one of your concerns. So we're trying to avoid that problem.
Frank, to your point though, they're still adding, 17% impervious. So I think some mitigation is in order somehow.
Why do we need any mitigation?
Because you're adding more impervious area.
You're covering more surface, and some of that's in a velocity zone also. For where the patio is going.
Mm-hmm. What if
I
we
mean,
put
there
some,
is parking on site, so this is more parking that's being, proposed.
Ridiculous.
well, there's an existing paver drive on the far right side of the lot as you come in from Surfside Road. Then
Mhm.
in the middle of the lot, he does have a garage with a driveway leading up to it. And to the left of that, he's proposing some additional parking, so there's no parking out in the street. If we're gonna put plants in, we could probably put some in the front yard where on the plants there's lot area, 7,000 square feet. We could probably put some shrubs in there or plants, to keep them on the lot.
Hmm.
And maybe a single row on the left side, on the left property line, going from the back of the proposed pervious driveway up to maybe the deck or the seawall.
Okay.
Other than that, he doesn't have much room to do anything.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, it's pretty cobbly on that one side.
Mhm.
All right, well,
Yeah, I do think it's 8:30, it's 6:35.
so why don't we continue this? See if you can come up with any mitigation, Paul. We'll look at these other pieces. You've heard what the commission's concerns are. Maybe you've got something else. If we can get sort of that stuff together and have the chance to review everything that's here, we can move this along at the next meeting.
Hey, that's in 2 weeks.
It's in 3 weeks. It's the November 25th.
So you want a motion?
Yes,
I make a motion, we continue 85 Surfside to November 25th, did you say?
Yes.
I'll second that.
second from Richard, all in favor. Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Frank. See you later.
Have a good night.
You too.
Unless we got you on for something else.
You do.
Oh, good.
It's your lucky night, Frank.
Here we go. Well, here, 196 Edward Foster Road.
Yes, and we do need to open this one.
I guess we do have you on again. On November 4th, 2024, at 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the notice of intent application of 196 Edward Foster Road LLC for demolition and reconstruction of an elevated dwelling and associated appendices located at 196 Edward Foster Road. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information on how to access the virtual meeting is available in the agenda posts on the town website.
Yeah, we do have Paul Marabita. We also have Rick Grady and Bill Orenberger. I understand revised plans are going to be submitted, so we'll be continuing it, but they wanted to introduce the project for a raise rebuild.
Okay, and as Jen noted, sounds like we have other plans coming, so if we could keep this to a minimum, both the applicant and
Yeah,
others, since we'll be discussing other issues as well, and we have a few other hearings, so. That said, let's get going. Good evening.
Hi, this is Bill Orenberger. I'm here just briefly, a brief overview. I want to turn this over to Rick Grady. As Jen said, Jen had some commentary relating to the application, the plans, and Rick has already addressed these plans and whatever, but we did not want to submit them until at this last time. But to give a general project overview, Joe Harold is with us, the owner of the property, along with Rick Grady. And there's a raise and reconstruct of existing dwelling on the premises. which will fully comply with all of the codes, including, and the house is being elevated in accordance with the FEMA and the building code regulations, and so it's being elevated up. One of the commentaries was the plans in front of you show an enclosure on the first floor. That enclosure is going to be fully eliminated from the revised plans, and I believe, speaking with Rick, all the other comments which Jen have will also be incorporated into the plan and the filing. So with that said, I just asked Rick to give an explanation of the application.
Sure. Rick
Okay.
Grady from Grady Consulting. Is it okay if I share my screen?
We don't do that. So we have the plan up right now, Rick.
Okay. All right. Be a little more productive if I could actually show you what I'm speaking about.
Well,
but
you can't,
give it my
we've
best
talked
shot.
about this before and we don't, so let's just move on.
Okay. So as you know, this is an existing home at 196 Edward Foster Road. The existing house is approximately 947 square feet. It's also a 318 square foot patio, 297 square foot walkway, for a total impervious calculation of 1,362 square feet. As you know, anytime homes are improved within a FEMA flood zone, we're located in zone AE16. The existing finished floor elevation is at 13, so about 3 feet lower than the flood elevation. So as you know, we're required to elevate that and flood-proof the structure. The applicant is proposing a new house of 1,107 square feet. So we're about 60 square feet bigger than the old house, pulling it away from Edward Foster Road a touch. So we'll be set back a little bit further than the existing home to comply with zoning setbacks. And the new home will be elevated on driven piles to a finished floor elevation of 20.5. So we will maintain proper separation to the flood zone. The application included not only the site plan, but also plans by the landscape architect and the architect. We have received some preliminary comments from Jen Smith as well. Just want to go over those things because we have been working on them with the design team over the past few weeks since she did provide us with them. The applicant has agreed to do driven piles. The structural engineer is recommending steel piles. A total of 12 piles will be proposed. We do have the layout of those piles, which is ready to submit along with a package of everything that you'll be receiving. We were hoping that we were going to find a way to include an enclosure below this structure, but now we understand that that will not be allowed, and the applicant has agreed to remove the proposed enclosure from the previously submitted plans. There was a question of a granite terrace shown just over the property line on 184 Edward Foster Road. This was really not part of this application. It's shown for reference purposes because the landscape architect is proposing a boardwalk and planted dunes around the entire portion of the site. What those planted dunes will be primarily seagrasses and some other appropriate plantings for that area. The sandy sediment of the lot will be maintained. They'll be connecting to the existing sewer service, which is already there for the existing home. Any structures like generator, air conditioner, or other utilities will be elevated above the flood zone and incorporated within the dwelling. So that won't be putting anything down in the flood zone. There was also a comment about the surface below the house that we had shown, basically patio below that. We'll be eliminating that patio and using crushed gravel or crushed shell as suggested. So it'll be the same surface as the proposed driveway in accordance with what conservation typically wants to see on those. And the planted dune referred to on the landscape plan is all proposed plantings. Existing grades will be very close to what currently exists. They might be doing some slight foot or so regrading as they're doing some of the dune plantings to provide a little more relief to the site. With that, be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Jen?
Yes, so it's good that the house is going up. We're not only in a flood area, but we're in the dune. So good that it's being elevated and pervious surfaces, and great to hear about seagrass and plantings being added to the dune. And also how the structure is pulling farther away from the beach area as well. I realize it's all in dune, but we're not going closer to the water. We're going farther away.
Run through members. Richard, actually Penny?
No, this is very interesting. I like it. Nothing underneath, right?
Correct.
Yes, very good, very good. No, I really don't have any questions right now. I like it. I like that it's back. And it's not a monster house. It's a nice cottage. Okay. Thank you, Frank. I just don't have anything major at the moment.
Jen?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything significant to call out right now.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, I don't have any comments at this time.
Eric?
Yeah, no comments from me right now either. Thank you.
Looks pretty good. Richard?
And Richard? Thank you.
No, I really, so far, I'm okay with this. So far, it's good.
Fine.
This is scary.
Well, we have a ways to go. I've got a few
Yeah, we do.
questions. I guess probably the best thing now is to open this up for comment from if anybody's got their hand up.
You're breaking up, Frank.
If anybody has their hand up.
Okay, I have one hand up. Jeff Katzenstein. I'll unmute him.
We want to get a name and address when you're.
Yes, thank you. This is Jeff Katzenstein. I'm an attorney with DTM Law. We represent Derek and Tracy Delmonico, who live next door at 13th Circuit Avenue. And we have been in touch with the Heralds and their counsel about our concerns regarding drainage. As the commission may know, there is a larger project, ongoing project at 184. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. At 184 Edward Foster Road, that's a much larger structure, and it's closer to the Delmonico's house. And so our concern at this point is this project, which I understand involves two parcels, has been segmented, and we want to make sure that's not being done to avoid any applicable drainage bylaws. So we look forward to the submission of any revised plans and working with the commission and the Heralds in finding a drainage plan that works for all parties.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bill Armberger.
Yeah, just to speak to Mr. Attorney Katzenstein's issues. And Rick Grady can speak better than this, but we don't want to mix apples with oranges. There's an outstanding, these are two separate and distinct properties that have always been owned that way, not only by the Michauds, but by the Herald for various and sundry reasons. Not other than they delve into each other. This is a complete separate distinct project. And so this has nothing to do with the existing Herald home, which has been, orders and conditions have been issued, which will be fully complied with. And any other issues relating to that property, I don't want to get the tail wagging the dog here. This is a really good project here. That's all.
Thank you. Do we have any, thank you, Bill. Do we have anybody else?
At the moment, I don't see any other hands raised.
What are your concerns, Frank? I'm interested.
I just, a couple of things. So on
Okay.
the plan from Grady, it shows 2 wood guardrail walls. And then I'm looking at a plan from Sudbury Design. I don't see those. And it looks more like there's reshaping of the earth in that area. Can you explain that a little bit, Rick?
Yes, those appear to be some sort of a drift fence that was installed at some point in the past. We would like to keep those in place, and we would like to grade around them by adding some additional sand around them and planting the beach grass on that sand.
So the plan from Sudbury should actually have those drift fences incorporated into that plan? Do you have the Sudbury plan?
I do, yes.
So I'm not seeing those on that plan. I'm seeing like some shaping of, looks like sand dune kind of things.
Yeah, we can ask them to add those in there.
Okay, is there any topography on that, on the Sudbury plan?
They were showing our existing, the plan that they're just finished up that we have not submitted yet does include some topography.
So that'll come along?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any work along the, I just see some like riprap drainage maybe being added at the seawall? Am I interpreting that correctly?
No, that's all existing.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no work proposed along the jetty or revetment there.
I know that these plans come from 2 different folks, but you have a plan that you're submitting, but it doesn't have the walkways, it doesn't have that dune, it doesn't really show that riprap. Just trying to make everything sort of the same.
Sure, yeah, Jen had the same comment, and we've already added the boardwalk to our plan, and we'll update it with any contours that are part of this dune enhancement.
Okay. Do we have a detail on the piles? Yeah, you said they were going to be steel-driven piles, but I don't see anything from that I remember. Like a little detail just showing where they're located, but I don't really see any.
We owe you that.
Okay. That. And you mentioned plantings and whatnot, those are going to show up on another plan as well?
Correct. I do have those on the Sudbury revision. American beach grass, CP, seaside, sandwort, and northern bayberry.
I'm sure Eric will be dying to see that, so that would be helpful.
Okay.
Is there going to be much changes? I know that there's like a parking area now, and it shows a squared off parking area, but then there's also a stone retaining wall sort of cutting through that. I know there's a decent elevation change. Is that wall going to stay?
They'd like to remove the wall.
So that whole stone area that's elevated, that stone wall is going to be removed?
Correct.
And then that's going to be regraded?
Graded down to the driveway, yes. So I think you'll find that it'll actually be able to function more as a dune with the proposed topography and landscaping.
Okay.
Okay, so we're not seeing all this, Frank.
No, we're not.
Right.
Yeah,
They've
sorry.
got revised plans coming. I think they have a whole packet of
to-
information.
To
Yeah.
Rick's credit, he offered to share some of that. We don't do it.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get a bunch of this information out and then we can bring that up on the screen the next time.
Thank you.
Just trying to think what else we want to see from them when they come back.
I think Jen's comments were really pretty comprehensive, and that's really what we've been busy working on. So I think she covered all of it.
And what's the surface under the house now?
That'll be either crushed stone or crushed shell to match the proposed driveway surface.
All right. I think
And
that's-
obviously, still showing the enclosure on the plan that's up there tonight, and that's going away.
Sure. I think those are my questions for tonight. Anybody else?
No, looking forward to the revised plan, Frank. So we
Okay.
can see all the stuff that you
So how long before we get the revisions, Rick?
I have everything pretty much ready to go. I can send it over in the next day or so.
So how much time do we want to give this, Jen?
If
continue
we
this
get
too.
it this week, I'm not looking at the agenda for the 25th, but
got 26.
I think it would be great to continue to that one. What else do we have? I think we did Surfside to the 25th. I think this might be the last thing we can continue to the 25th. But I mean, other than that, it shouldn't be a very long discussion. You know, that should be pretty to the point, and then we'll have some drafted orders as well.
And then just to the point of the Delmonico's attorney, the question about drainage. So does this is a separate piece of property with a separate building. Is this triggering stormwater?
No. Yeah, in fact, we're reducing impervious coverage. It does not trigger stormwater.
Okay. Okay.
We did include a note with references to the stormwater sections and why it didn't trigger stormwater directly on the site plan.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you want a motion, Frank?
Yes, please.
I make a motion, we continue 196 Edward Foster to November 25th.
That's from Penny. We get Bill Ornberger's hand
I'll
up.
second that.
But just hold on one second.
He's unmuted.
Yeah,
Bill?
Jen, what is your next meeting after that? I have a conflict on the 25th.
Sure, it's December 16th.
Okay, so.
And that's our last one for the year, and then we go to January.
Let's leave it on November 25th and we'll see what we can do.
Okay,
All right, so we don't have a meeting on the 18th. We have it on the 25th.
correct. The 18th is town meeting, so we had to
Oh,
move it.
that's right.
Do I have that right?
Yeah.
I think
you
that's
do.
why we had to move it. Okay.
Yeah, no, you do. And then we
Okay.
won't meet December 2nd. We'll just meet the 16th once in December.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So you got a second, Frank?
I have a motion from
Me.
and
A
a
second
second
for Brendan.
Brendan. Sorry
Okay.
about that. Thanks for keeping track of me here. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
are you second, and Eric
Yes.
and Frank? Yes, great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
That one. 44 Roses Lane.
This is another one to open.
On November 4th, 2024, 6 p.m. Situate Conservation Commission will hold.
Ah,
wetlands hearing under section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the notice of intent application of Corey Farrell for construction of an addition, deck, and screen porch located at 44 Rose Lane, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties were invited to attend. Information on how to access the virtual meetings available on the town website.
That helps.
And we have James Garfield from Morse Engineering here to present.
Yep. Good evening, everyone.
Evening, James.
James.
So for the record, again, James Garfield with Morse Engineering, representing the applicant. This is a notice of intent for proposed addition, deck, and screened porch. This is a 20,119 square foot property, currently developed with a single family home built in 1963. There's an isolated vegetated wetland is the subject resource area shown in blue. We also have the 50 and 100-foot buffers shown in red and green. Again, proposing to construct an addition, deck, and screened porch off the rear of the existing dwelling. This works in previously disturbed areas, primarily consisting of lawn area. We're not proposing any structures within the 50-foot buffer zone to the IVW. And we've got a 12-inch mulch sock down gradient of said proposed work, which does slightly extend into that 50-foot buffer. Note that this project does not trigger a stormwater permit. And another note, it has been brought to our attention that through aerial imagery, that this site had some unpermitted clearing done back in 2017. But we want to note that the current owner didn't purchase the property until 2019. So with that, I'll pass it to the commission for some for any comments and questions.
Thank you. Jen?
Yes, I think that the project looks good. I did visit the site this afternoon. The line certainly makes sense. It's just behind a rock wall, and there's a couple large trees between the rock wall and where they have the line. I would maybe want to just emphasize, if any other trees are to come down, they should plant something in its place and certainly let us know. But otherwise, the proposed project looks good.
Okay. We want to jump to Jen?
Helpful. I appreciate the context on the prior owner doing some clearing, because always good to get that called out ahead of time. I guess I'm wondering if this is, and maybe I'm not sure if I'm seeing it, if this is a good candidate for conservation markers, given kind of where we are with trees and clearing and whatnot. But I might have a couple other things you might want to. I think I'm good for now.
Okay, thank you. Brendan?
I'll have no questions right now.
Eric?
I think generally it looks good. I, like Jen, appreciate the clarity on the prior owner's work. I guess when it comes to work potentially encroaching on the 50, I know that we're not necessarily accepting the lines as drawn, just because it hasn't been reviewed, but yeah, I'm just looking because we're close. We're getting close with that proposed screen porch. So just wanting to make sure that everything is done in terms of the limit of work to stay out of that 50 as much as possible. But that'd be my only concern.
Richard?
No, I agree with Eric, but otherwise I got no questions.
Penny?
Yeah, that's a play. You know, you have that, it's all lawn, Eric. enrich it, and there's a place that, and I believe that's what the previous owners, you know, went way into the 50 with that stuff, and but this is, I'm fine with this, Frank.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience?
I do not see any raised hands.
James, is that a stone wall that runs across the back of the property?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Right on the property line,
Right,
yeah.
right, Jen. So I mean, it's kind of typical in these areas, people put up the stone wall. And this area was built without a lot of concern for the
Wow.
wetlands at that time. Jen, are there any plans for any other changes in the yard or anything? I see like there's an existing fire pit that's getting removed and there's a deck, stairs going down there. I do think would be good to make sure that there's some sort of notation that there shouldn't be any structures or sheds or anything placed in that yard beyond the
50.
50. You know, they're filling up the backyard with that addition. And the hard part is that there's really no delineation because of the way it's been changed.
That's just one huge lawn to the property line, Frank.
Right. So maybe, what about the possibility of some plantings along the stone wall? There's a wetland summary from South River. I don't know, that would be my only thought is maybe there ought to be some, 4 foot, 5 foot wide strip running along that stone wall. Just to give that wetlands a little break.
Yeah, from the lawn being mowed.
Right.
Sounds good to me.
I don't know if anybody else has any
It's a good idea.
thoughts.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that,
What do you think, James?
especially.
Yeah, that sounds good. We could do a 5-foot strip. Let's say, I mean, from the edge of the existing tree line at the
Yep.
top of the page down
Yeah.
to where that boulder is.
Right.
Yeah. You still have the place set there for the kiddos. All
I
right,
think that's a reasonable
ask.
request for that.
Yeah, and I think a combination of shrubs and perennials will give it the best chance to sort of naturalize in as we would probably like to see it. Just as a further point of
Maybe you can add that to the
Detail.
notes. I don't know if South River gives you a sketch on that, or you guys put it together, James, but you could come back to us. Do we want to close with that piece being part of the orders, or what do you want to do, Jim?
If you want to close an issue, and we'll put a condition in that either South River or a qualified wetland scientist that they'll provide a planting list, but 5-foot strip along that back line
That
from like
property.
the boulder to kind of where the tree line is.
Yeah.
I think we can figure that out so we can get this
Cool.
one off the table.
All right, take a motion.
I make a motion to close an issue.
I'll
Second.
second that.
From Richard, all in
All
favor,
right.
Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
yes.
and Frank, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
91 in vinyl. On November 4th, 2024, 6 p.m., Situate Conservation Commission hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation application of Lennox Realty for the wetlands resource delineation at 91 Ann Vinyl Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information on how to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the website.
We have James Garfield here for this one also.
Yeah. So again, James Garfield with Morse Engineering, representing the applicant for this ANRAD project to confirm the limits of the bordering vegetated wetland at 91 Ann Vinyl Road and 12 Pleasant Street. The wetlands at this site were delineated by John Zimmer of South River Environmental, as well as Brad Holmes of Environmental Consulting and Restoration, both of whom are licensed wetland scientists. The BVW is shown here in blue, along with the 50 and 100-foot buffer zones shown in red and green. The commission hired Lucas Environmental to review this BVW line, and we understand that they're in agreement with the line shown. So with that, I will pass it back to the commission and Jen for comments.
Excuse me.
Yes, so it was two sites. It was the 91 Ann Vinyl. Thank you for showing also the 12 Pleasant. Lucas Environmental did agree with the BVW line. They did have some comments, one of which on 12 Pleasant, within the BVW, there is bordering land subject to flooding. And that's a line that's established from essentially FEMA. That's not something we get delineated and reviewed. So I would add that comment to the ANRAD that the BLSF exists on 12 Pleasant. And there was a couple concerns. We needed some appropriate, we needed some additional paperwork, which has been received. So those are my comments.
What would the let's see, who did I Brendan? Not
Yeah,
a
I
lot
don't-
here, Brendan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just, yeah, I don't have anything to, I have no questions.
Eric?
No, sorry about that.
Well, there's not
I
much
think
to
I'm-
offer at this point. All we're trying to do is okay a wetlands.
Yeah, no,
And it's been reviewed
I
by
guess I
everybody.
agree with everyone agreeing on what the lines are.
Richard,
I'm good.
Penny,
All set.
Jen,
I'm going to agree with all of the agreement.
do we have
We're
anybody
agreeing
in the
with
audience on this one?
See what they come back.
I do not see any hands raised.
Am I assuming that there were two different wetlands people because somebody did number 12 and somebody did the larger parcel? Is that right?
I think
Just
that
curious.
12 Pleasant was done at a different time. I'm not quite sure their reasoning, and then I think they were just different timing.
And we already granted permission to remove a house here, right?
We did an RDA for the demo of the house on 91 Ann Vinyl.
Okay.
I do have one question that might not really, it doesn't really pertain to the ANRAD, but there is on the plan garage remains that's sort of overlapping. Like, I don't know what my question is, but it just seems weird that it's over the property line in the 50. Just an observation, I guess, and a comment more than a question.
Is that like an old foundation, James, or do you know?
No, unfortunately, I don't have much info on that garage.
Looks like it belonged to the neighbor and they just didn't get it.
Yeah. On
Treated
Ann
it
Vinyl.
differently.
You know, these are the funny parts with these is that you get plan of what's there, but you don't really, so it's important to make sure that we do have the resource areas correct, because when the applicant comes back with a project, we
Yeah.
we can't be saying, well, geez, we didn't agree with that wetlands line. But I think if all three wetland scientists, or Lucas reviewed both the other two, and everybody's in agreement, there's really not a lot more to add to that at this point.
Yeah. Because that garage might have been there for the last 100 years for all we
Yep.
know.
That's right.
You know?
Well, there's also an existing greenhouse that's on the edge of the.
Yep.
Yeah,
50.
right.
So we'll see what happens when they
When they
figure
come
out what
back.
they're gonna do. I'll take a motion. Do we have anybody in the audience?
No.
I don't see anybody.
Okay,
Is this a motion to accept the ANRAD as done, or a motion to close the
Yes,
ANRAD?
if you want to accept it as done with the comments that there is that the BLSF exists on 12 Pleasant, and I'll include that in the form.
Okay. That sounds good to me.
whatever Jen
It
said.
said.
Huh?
Whatever Jen said.
Okay,
I agree with you, Jen.
that was Penny. How about a second?
I'll second that.
Brendan, all
Brendan.
in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. All right, thank you. 66 and Vinyl Road.
Yeah.
On November 4th, 2024, 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the notice of intent Scituate stormwater permit of Michael Bell and Thomas
Guyan.
thank you, for the construction of an accessory dwelling located at 66 Ann Vinyl Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information on how to access the virtual meeting is available on the town website.
1 bedroom. Oh, it's on top of the garage.
We have James Garfield here to present this. It did have a stormwater permit applied for, and that was reviewed by Horsley Witten. They provide some final comments today that were shared with Morse Engineering, but I'll let James
James.
present.
Yep. So again, for the record, James Garfield with Morse Engineering. You're representing the applicants for this notice of intent and stormwater permit application for a proposed accessory dwelling at 66 Ann Vinyl Road. This property is 25,241 square feet in size, developed with a single family home, which was built in 1870 per the assessor's card.
Wow.
The subject resource area is a bordering vegetated wetland, shown here in blue, along with the 50 and 100-foot buffer zones shown in red and green. You'll note that the BVW is on the other side of the paved roadway, being Ann Vinyl Road. And what we're proposing is a 24 by 28 accessory dwelling, which will be located outside of the 50-foot buffer. This new structure will be accessed via a pervious paver driveway. The increase in the new roof area triggered a stormwater permit. So we're now going to capture all of that new roof runoff and direct it to a shallow grass depression. This depression will help to mitigate rates and volumes of runoff, as well as provide groundwater recharge on site. As Jen mentioned, Horsley Witten did provide us with a peer review letter, which we responded to. I actually haven't seen their second letter back to us yet. So it was my understanding tonight we were not going to close, but just get comments from the commission, and then obviously get a chance to look at their final review letter. But with that, I'll pass it back to the commission for comments tonight.
Jen?
Yes, I think it'd be good to have the back and forth finished. Some of her comments were suggestions of conditions to include in the project, which we would do. She mentioned the applicant appears to be protecting the row of arborvitaes and the 3 large trees along the front of the property line. So that would be something that would be good to note, that that's the plan, that, those are remaining.
Cool. Yeah.
This was filed with Board of Health, although I haven't gotten an update from Board of Health on where it stands. And I understand that they have not filed with planning for accessory dwelling permit. So those are all my comments for now.
Okay.
Beautiful flowers.
Eric?
Um, Off the top, I don't think I have anything significant to add at the moment.
Oh,
It's kind of tricky with the wetlands on the other side of the road and the separation of a roadway and all that. It doesn't,
and then you got the school behind it.
right. It's not a, go ahead. Richard,
I've got nothing to add right now.
Penny?
No, they've done a nice job on that house, I will say.
Well, that's important. Jen?
Penny's thoughts are very important, Frank. Yeah, I don't think I don't think I have anything except maybe a question to Jen. I just don't know procedurally, like in the order of, do we have to wait for Board of Health and planning, or how does that kind of all play out? Because it, looks okay now, but you never know what could change.
It would, well, I think at the moment, it'd be good to hear back from the Board of Health. If what their comments are. So I think we still have that to figure out. It is preferred to have applied for all the permits that you need to get, even though you're not going to be able to finish them at the same time. You might have to get
Yeah.
one before you get the other.
Right.
But I think between hearing back from the Board of Health and the finishing the back and forth with the stormwater, just making sure everybody is good with the comments and any changes, then that might be the best next step.
I mean, just if they have to really alter something, it'd be a shame to have us close and then they have to circle back through all that. But I think once Board of Health looks at it, I think it's really for us,
An issue.
the planning board's concerns are pretty different than ours. I guess unless there was some discussion about stormwater or something that we didn't touch on, but I mean, with this separation of the road and then where everything is, it hardly seems, I guess it's in our jurisdiction, but, and Jen, did you say that there is no stormwater on this one, or
They did apply for a stormwater permit, yes.
through us or through the planning board?
Through
or?
us, through
Okay.
us.
So we
So the pervious paver driveway, that would be something we'd want to put in the conditions, that it should be porous or crushed shell or crushed stone in perpetuity. Just so that's, clear going forward, that that's part of this stormwater permit, and the calculations. And I guess for ours, and yes, the line is just on the other side of the street as far as the BVW line.
Yeah.
So, James, this is showing almost like a little detention area, or have I got that right?
Yeah, so it's just a little shallow grass depression, just to slow the runoff down before it leaves the site.
So you're tying the downspouts into that piping it under the driveway, and then discharging it into that small depression and you're building up a couple little berms with an outlet in that corner.
That's correct. And we provided a full hydrocat analysis within our stormwater report on that front.
Okay. Excuse me. I think that's it for me.
Right. So when will we continue it to, Jen?
I really think it needs to go to December 16th,
Yeah, okay.
just because of how full the agenda is on the 25th.
Yep. I make a motion, we continue 66 Ian Vinyl Road to December 16th, did you say?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, that's a motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
I'll
Second
second
from
that.
Jen.
I give that one to Jen. Sorry, Brendan.
It's okay.
All in favor, Richard
Yes.
and Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Good.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you. Wow.
Moving.
We got one RDA, 128 Oceanside Drive. Do I have that open? Let's see.
Recast pile, oh yeah. This is a pile.
On November 4th, 2024, 6 p.m., the Central Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, Section 30700, Town of Scituate, Code of Bylaws for RDA for application filed by Thomas Blankenship for repairs to deteriorated concrete piers located at 128 Oceanside Drive, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting is available on the town's website.
And we have Mr. Blankenship on the call. He's unmuted. We also have kind of a sketch from Rivermore, a field sketch that maybe we can have also to show for 128 Oceanside. But I'll let Tom present the project.
Great, thank
Yes,
you.
this is Tom Blankenship. I'm a contractor representing the owners at 128 Oceanside. It's Stephen and Ann Melly. The project is pretty simple. It's an elevated seaside home. The existing concrete piers have been damaged through the rebar corrosion, which has caused several of the piers to, or the concrete and the piers to spall, and is compromising their structural integrity. I had Rivermore Engineering, Peter Falk, the engineer of record, to take a look at the foundation. He's advised on some repairs. There's 2 piers that are in the worst of condition, which require new rebar cages and new cast concrete. And for those 2 piers, we have to dig and expose the existing footings, which are approximately 2 feet below the surface of the of grade. Tie a new rebar cage into those footings and cast a new pier around the 2 labeled Type 4. The other piers labeled Type 3 don't require as much excavation. Really, it's just chipping away the damaged concrete at a above grade. We may have to go below grade a little bit, but we just certainly don't have to expose their existing footings. So in applying for a building permit for this project, I was advised to reach out to Conservation Commission, and here we are.
Okay, thank you. Jen?
I think it's that we're probably going to see more of these for some other
I would
sites.
absolutely agree.
And I think an RDA could be appropriate for this. They're not putting new piles in. But they're repairing the piles. There's no other work going on the site other than repairing the piles. So it's good to get more information about the project.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
All right. Back to Richard.
Well, I guess my only question would be, do we have detail, for example, on the Type 4, which seems to be the most serious, on exactly the equipment going to be used, how deep, how's the access, things like that, that we would probably really go after if it weren't an RDA, but I think we need that anyway.
Yeah, I've since submitting this drawing to conservation. I've gotten a detailed repair sketch from Rivermore Engineering on exactly what is required for the Type 4 repairs. I can submit that, as soon as we get off this meeting, but I do have that.
I would think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, Penny?
Yeah, I think the question is, Tom, are you going to use equipment or are you going to hand dig down?
Everything is going to be done by hand.
That's what I was hoping you'd say.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're only disturbing what's absolutely necessary
Yeah.
to find the extent of the damage, and all of the material that we excavate is going right back.
Okay.
It's a very temporary temporary situation.
Yeah.
And as said before, we're not adding any new piers or piles. We're just repairing what's existing to keep the house from falling down.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jen?
Nothing. I'm good.
Okay, Brendan?
I'm with Jen. I have nothing.
Eric?
Good.
Yeah, my only question I think really was about the level of excavation required and if that would have necessitated any sort of erosion control, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be that significant of an excavation project. So I think I'm all set.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience?
I don't see any hands raised. I do want to add that one of the questions that was asked by our coastal management officer was if the project was considered substantial repair of a foundation, and that was for building to decide on, and said no, it doesn't trigger that. Just as far as like other comments from other departments, and then he's mentioned this, but just good to emphasize that this is a project that requires a building permit as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that the building permit is contingent on approval of conservation. Is that correct?
Yes, with this decision, you will have paperwork will issue to you that you would want to include in your building permit application.
Okay, thank you.
So in this case, the commission would be issuing you a negative determination, which just means that we don't have to go any further with this. I'd be a little reluctant to limit them to just hand digging. You don't know what you'll get into there. It doesn't, I think Eric made a good point. If there was a lot of excavation and a lot of material piled up around the site, that maybe erosion control would be appropriate. But I think that this seems like it's fairly minimal, but you could get into a situation where you find some rocks and things that might need a small meeting or something, and I wouldn't want to hamstring them to just have to shovel it out by hand. But that's about the only comment I have.
All right. You want a motion?
Yes, please.
I make a motion for -3, which is what you want, Tom.
That's from Penny. A second.
Second from Jen.
All in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Okay, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Jen, it's your Jen Smith.
Sure. We have one order of conditions to vote to issue for 76 Glades Road.
I make a motion, we accept the orders of condition as written for 76 Glades Road.
I'll second it.
That's the septic one.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Motion second from Richard, all in favor. Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Jen, you said some open space updates.
Yes, the Girls on the Run would like to use the field at Driftway Park again in the spring. That was my only update.
Good for them. I don't think does anybody have any concern about the Girls on the Run on the Driftway Park in
Nope.
the spring?
No.
Should
Okay.
be out there.
Certificate of compliance.
I do have a few that have been filed, but I did not get to review them as much as I need to, so I'll get those ready for the next one.
Okay. Enforcements.
42 Crescent Ave, I don't, if
Are you making any headway there?
I guess, I mean, the as-built we received was a foundation plan, I think done in August. It doesn't have a lot of other info. I understand that more is coming on that one as far as details on a plan as far as what is there and what they want to do. Do we have any other guidance we want to give them?
So you said that since that happened, they triggered stormwater. So they're going to be coming to us with a stormwater plan and also a new plan of the yard with these retaining walls or whatever, right?
We would like to see an existing condition plan of how are things now on the site.
And then I guess what they should be giving us is what they propose to do there. Because it seems like there's a grade change from what was proposed originally, what we conditioned. It looks like they have a different elevation for grading as well as an elevation on the foundation. So it's almost like they need to come back to us with a fairly concise plan of the
Like starting from square one, Frank, I think.
pretty close.
Yeah. They just kind of threw our stuff out the window. Is there still a cease and desist on that property, Jen?
Yes.
Yes, and until we have yes,
Yeah.
there is. Yes.
Okay. Very important.
So I don't think I'll get a stormwater filing until I don't know who it is makes a decision on what the plan is. If they have a different plan they want to do, they need to finalize that before they can move forward with doing those calculations. I do want to say they did put the additional erosion control up that was asked for. And we wanted some deed information since the two lots had changed hands and all of that was promptly set. But I don't have an existing conditions plan, and I don't have a filing yet for what it is they want to do, and including the stormwater filing.
Yeah, so it's just gonna sit.
I do have the contractor and and Mr. Maribito are on the call if we have any questions we want to ask them.
I think that we've said what we want. There's no point in moving forward on this until we have a new plan to show what they're proposing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
All
don't
right.
want to just keep hashing.
Okay.
All right, can we move on to the minutes?
And then, but that plan, they need to file an amendment, Jen. I think you've told them that as well. It's not going to be just giving this commission that there's significant changes on that plan are going to require that they amend that they file an amended plan with this commission, that we can advertise it, notify the neighbors.
Go through
then-
the process of reviewing it.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, I think that we're gonna need our engineer to review it, so they're gonna have to fund that as well.
Yes, correct. Thank you for reminding me of that. I do have a proposal from an engineer to review it. I can send the request for funding, but I guess I wanted to hear from them what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where we start. I mean, it's significant enough and a big enough change that those are the kind of things that need to come forward.
Okay.
All right.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of October 21st as written.
Nobody wants to second that?
Second
I'll
for
second
Jen.
that. It's Jen again.
You went to sleep, Brendan, on me.
I think she waits until she hears you just start to click your tongue, and then
I think I was the
Nice, yeah.
second here.
that was a second from Jen. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Brendan,
Oh, yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay. What else?
I do.
Brendan first, but.
Okay. I guess there is a situation with a seawall in Hummerock on the northern part of Hummerock on Central Ave. The wall moved away from where it was set of the storm we had in October. And since then, the cement patio or pad that's behind the wall has started to cave in a couple locations also. So they need to do something now to stabilize things, and then they are working on getting a filing in to do more extensive work, but they need to do something now to just get through the winter and any other possible storm.
Is that one of those patios that attached to the seawall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Is this right next to that one we just conditioned?
Yes.
Richard,
So
did
it's
you have a
in the
chance-
middle. It's in the middle of that long wall that's about 10
Yeah.
homes that are kind of all connected there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The wall moved a few feet away, and then within the last couple weeks, the patio is beginning to sink. You can see there's some photos from right after the storm compared to some photos from about a week or so ago, where you can see that it's getting worse.
Richard, did you have a chance to take a look?
I did, and Jen described it very well, and there's no question they need to do something of a temporary nature in the event that we get a storm that we haven't seen for a couple of years that could very easily happen. And then I'm sure there'll have to be a filing for next spring to do something much more permanent.
How do you temporarily hold something like that up if it's
I think they want to bring some material, some boulders or rocks or something
Boulders.
to put around the some of the footings that are there, like on the seaward side of the wall to kind of
Correct.
hold it in place, and then maybe something underneath the footings that are underneath that patio as well?
Okay.
Tanya, I'll call you
And-
back in a minute.
And we can grant that, or you can work with them, right, for emergencies.
Yes, so I just wanted to let you know
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
going on, and they'll have to work with the town on how to access the beach. But as far as doing the work, we can give them that permission.
Great, thanks, Jen.
It's temporary work though, Jen. Make sure
Yeah.
they
Correct.
understand.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's just a quick fix.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, can I make a positive statement?
Sure.
Speakman started dug out the parking area today. up at
Speakman is the
contractor
contractor.
for Mordecai Lincoln, and they dug out the area where the parking lot's gonna be. They're starting up there and working their way down to the street. So that is very exciting. They hope to be out of there by the end of the week. Sean McCarthy came by and, just to keep an eyeball on it, but it's great. It's finally is happening.
Hey, Penny.
Are there plantings going in, Penny, at this time as well?
The plantings, the trees, the green giants, which will go behind the garage towards the marsh area. There's 3 green giants going in. And yeah, that's really it. And because there's gardens and stuff there and there's stuff around the houses that's gonna come later, Frank, when historic gets things moving on their end. Okay. And I'm supposed to get from J. Michaels a proposal on the bittersweet, Eric, the removal of that, and he wants to do spraying. And of my vista pruning, which is part of the driveway project. So I'm waiting for those quotes from him. So
Yeah, I'd be curious on that proposal timing of spray. And
yeah,
if possible, why he doesn't want to do manual removal.
he thinks
He doesn't.
the spray will do better, but I'll show it to you when I get it, okay, Eric?
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. I did have just one question out of curiosity. What's the depth that they're going for excavation for the driveway portion of, what they're working on right now? Because I know that you said they're doing the parking lot area. I'm just thinking of that tree, as you're leaving on the right-hand side, with that excavation, if there's going to be any impact there.
That tree isn't long for this world, to be honest with you. It's full of carpenter ants. It was supposed to be removed and it didn't get removed. So
yeah, it
to
was
be
something I was
honest with you, I
concerned about.
can't tell you, Frank would know. How far do they usually go down, Frank?
What's that, Penny?
The scraping to put in the gravel for the driveway.
Well, they remove all the loam and any like unfit soil, so I'd say at least 18 inches, 2 feet.
Yeah.
Depends on what they encounter. All the loamy material is going to go, and then any of the unstable material.
No, they took some truckloads out today, of the parking area itself.
Yeah, to your point though, Penny, I asked just because of the concern of the health of that tree to begin with, as you noted, and any removal of anchoring roots on that driveway side could pose as a fall risk with any significant storm event that we have. So, and I don't remember the proximity to the building itself, but
it is
just something to keep in mind.
That's why it was going to be removed last year, and then it didn't get removed. And that's something, it's unhealthy. And like I said, it was supposed to be removed, and then I was assured it would be removed after they didn't remove it, and it's still standing there. And if it falls on the house, it's going to be a crime. But I will bring it up again, Eric, with the powers that I have to deal with.
Okay.
You'll do your best. I know that. We all do.
I will, because I don't want anything to happen to anything up there.
Well, Eddie, if you guys can work with each other a little bit between Eric and Penny, if you got questions, you go right to Eric with them. And
yes, no, well, when Michaels gets that proposal back, all right, you might want to even speak to him, Eric. J. Michaels.
Let's share it anyways, and then maybe we can give them some recommendations, okay?
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely going to share it with Eric because I don't understand that, the bittersweet.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Eric. Anybody
Yes, we're
else?
done.
Richard's got to get off pretty quick. He needs to get his beauty sleep because he's going to be a pretty busy guy.
He's got a
tomorrow.
long day tomorrow.
I got a long day tomorrow. That's true. 6 a.m.'s come fast.
All
Ugh.
right.
I don't,
Anybody who hasn't voted is welcome, though.
I did my early voting.
I'll
Yeah.
see you up there, Richard, tomorrow night.
Yeah, you come in late, though. You got the late shift.
I got the counting shift.
Yep,
I
the
have to
late
look
shift.
at every single ballot.
Oh, good luck to you. That's not going to be fun. There's already 7,000 in.
Oh,
So it'll more than double. It'll more than
We
double
will
tomorrow.
have a long night.
Yeah,
just
you
to
will.
get through.
Yep.
the Looking.
Yep.
Thanks.
All
Thanks for
right.
doing that.
No
Yeah.
worries.
Okay.
If we've looks like we've exhausted all of our, I was looking at emails real quick and it's like somebody dumped a little concrete at one of our access roads.
Ugh.
Doesn't look too bad, but it's a shame. We'll take a peek at it.
Okay, access road to where? One of your properties?
Appleton.
Oh, please.
Yeah, well.
Well,
Okay.
I'll make a motion to go home.
Sounds good.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thanks. Second,
Second from Jen.
all in favor? Richard,
I'm good. Thank you.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Thank
Care,
you
guys.
all.